Hello boys and girls, welcome to the Math Club. In this video, we're going to talk about Unit 3 homework. Question number 1. If A equals negative 10, B equals negative 4, C equals 3, find the value of this. Now, to find the value of this, we're going to substitute these values into this expression and then find the values of this expression. Now, let's substitute these numbers together. So A is negative 10, B is negative 4, C is 3. We write it like this. So here, A is negative 10, so we write negative 10. And then plus bracket 3 multiplied by B. And we said that before, that each number or with any number attached to a variable, it means it's multiplied with it. And B here is what? It's negative 4. Very good. So 3 is multiplied by negative 4. We can put it inside a bracket like this. And then plus C, which is 3. So plus 3. And then we close this bracket and we put the square on top of it. So now we just substituted these numbers instead of the variables. Now we're going to calculate these numbers together. We can use a calculator, put the whole thing inside the calculator, and it will give me the answer. Or I can do it step by step, starting from the brackets inside here. So we multiply 3 by negative 4, and the answer will be negative 12, and then plus 3 inside the bracket, which is squared. Now, and then we have this plus or negative 10 next to it. So it's going to be negative 10 here, so we don't forget it. And then add it to the bracket, not multiplied by it. Negative 10, add it to what's inside the bracket after squaring it. Now, negative 12 and plus 3, when you calculate them, they will give you negative 9. Very good, negative 9. So we put the sign of the bigger number, and then we subtract the numbers. 12 take away 3 equals 9. And then it's squared. And then negative 10 outside. Now, the next step is what? It's the square. Good. So we square negative 9, and the answer will be what? Very good. It's going to be 81. So negative 10 plus 81. Now, when you do them together, you're going to take the sign of the bigger number, which is 81. So the answer will be positive. And then subtract 81 and 10 equals 71. And this is the answer of the whole question. Now, let's go back, and we can find 71 here. Now, to make sure that your answer is correct, you can put the whole thing here in the calculator, and it will give you the same answer. Make sure that you write the steps in each question, so you'll get a full mark on the question. Now, let's move on to the next question. Question 2. Solve the inequality 5 bracket 12 minus 3x close bracket smaller than 30. Now, to solve this inequality, we're going to follow the steps of following or of answering any inequalities. First thing, this 5 is multiplied by the whole bracket, and it's easier for me to make x alone to solve the inequality. So I'm going to take anything on the side of the x and take it to the other side. So let's start with the 5, which is multiplied by the bracket. Because it's multiplied, I'm going to do the opposite of multiplying, which is dividing by 5 here. So I'm going to divide by 5 here and divide by 5 here. Both 5s goes together. So I left 12 minus 3x here. And the sign smaller than. And then 30 divided 5 equals what? Very good, it's 6. Now, I have negative 3x and 12 on this side. So I'm going to take the 12 to the other side. So it's going to be negative 12, like this. So I end up with negative 3x on this side and 6 minus 12 on the other side. So 6 minus 12 will be what? Very good. I'm going to take the sign of the bigger number and subtract. So I end up with negative 3x here, smaller than, I'll take the sign of the 12, which is the bigger number, and I write it. And then subtract the numbers, which is 12 minus 6 equals 6. Very good. Now, I have a negative 3 here, which is multiplied by the x. And remember, if there's a number multiplied or attached to a variable, it means it's multiplied with it. So I have negative 3 multiplied by the x, and I want to get rid of it. So because it's multiplied, I'm going to do the opposite of multiplying, which is dividing. So I'm going to divide by negative 3 here. And because I did this to this side, I'm going to do the same to the other side. I'm going to divide negative 6 by negative 3. Very good. Now, the negative 3 goes with the negative 3, and the negative here on this side goes with the negative, and then I'll divide 6 by 3. But remember, the rule says what? Anytime you multiply or divide by a negative number, you flip the sign of the inequality. So here, this sign is looking this way. I'm going to make it look the opposite way. So I'm going to write x, flip the sign like this, and then 6 divided 3 equals 2. And as I said, that the negative sign here was taken away with this negative sign, and I left 6 divided 3, which is 2. And this is the answer here. X is bigger than 2. So I'm going to check it here. As I said, the rule says if you multiply or divide by a negative number in the inequality, you must flip the sign of the inequality. Very good. Now let's move on to the next question. Question 3. A telephone company uses this formula to calculate how much a customer must pay. This is the formula. T equals 0.25p plus 0.2n plus 15. Now, here they are telling us what's the meaning of these letters or variables. T means the total cost in dollars. P means what? P means number of minutes during peak time. And N means number of minutes on calls during non-peak time. So we know that T is the total, P is peak time, N is non-peak time. Now the question says what? A customer spends 60 minutes on calls during non-peak time, which is the N here. So they spend, let's say they spend 60 minutes on calls during non-peak time. So N equals what? Very good, 60. So I'm going to say N equals 60. So after finding this, I'm going to use them to find the rest. So N equals 60. The total cost that she must pay is 51. And we said that the total cost is T. So T equals 51. Very good. Now, the question says what? How many minutes did she spend on calls during peak time? So we know that the total is 51. The non-peak time is 60. So they are looking for what? Very good, the P, which is the peak time. Now they need the peak time minutes. I'm going to use these and substitute them in this formula here, and then find P. And this is how you answer this question. So we're going to substitute these numbers into the formula and find P. Let's do them together here. First, we know that T is 51, so we write 51. And then we know that N is 60, so we come here and write 60. So 51 here, N is 60, so 0.2 multiplied by 60. And then add 15. So we put 51 here instead of the T, and we put 60 instead of the N. This is the meaning of substitution. And then we put the rest of the formula, 0.25 P. Now, basically, we are looking for what? for the value of P, which is the peak time minutes. Now, to answer this, we have to leave the P in one side and take all of the numbers to the other side. Now, I can calculate these here before taking them to the other side. I can do them together using a calculator and write them step by step. Now, let me do this. So here we have 0.2 multiplied by 60. I can use a calculator to do this. So I'm going to write 0.2 times 60. And the answer is 12. So this one is 12. Very good. And then I'm going to add what? Add 15 to it. So 12 plus 15 equals 27. So this one is 27. Very good. Now, I added these after multiplying. I added it with 15, so I got 27, which is positive 27. Now, the whole formula is like this. 51 equals 0.25p plus 27. Now, what I can do is take this 27 to the other side by making it negative. So 0.25 or 25p equals 51 minus 27. So I'm going to write minus 27 plus 51. Now, let me write it here so I can finish the whole formula. I'll do it here. First, we find what's 27 or 51 minus 27 equals 24. So I'm going to write it here. So 24 equals 0.25p. Now, after finding this, I need to find p. How do I find p? Because the 0.25 is multiplied by p, and I want to get rid of it. So I just divide both sides on 0.25, or take it to the other side by dividing. It's the same idea. So I divide both sides. This goes with this. So now p is alone. I divide 24 by 0.5. So 24 divided 0.25 equals 96. So p equals 96. And this is how I answer a question like this. So first thing I did is what? I took all of the numbers that was given to me in the question, and then I substituted in this formula. And then I found out what p equals to, or what's the value of p, by completing or answering the numbers together. And then I found out that p, or the peak time minutes, are 96 minutes. And this is how you answer a question like this. So it's 96 minutes. Now, let's move on to the next question. Which inequality is illustrated on the number line below? Which inequality is illustrated on the number line below? Now, how do you do this? Very good. You take a look at the inequality on the number line and turn it into inequality, or a written inequality. So basically, how do you do this? You use this number and this number, and then draw or write the inequality. Now let's do it together. First, here we have a -1, and here we have a 4. And then this line here, we call it x. So we put x. Very good. Now, let's talk about the x and -1 here. Now, I can see that the numbers here on the line are what are bigger than -1. So I'm going to put the sign that the x is bigger than -1. And the circle here is a closed circle. So -1 is included. So I'm going to put an equal sign under this sign. So x is bigger or equal to -1. Very good. Now I'm going to talk about the same values and the relation between them and 4. I can see that these values here are smaller than 4. So I'm going to put or say that x is smaller than 4. And the circle here is what? Very good. It's an open circle. So 4 is not included. So I'm not going to put an equal sign here. I'm going to leave it like this. And this is the answer of this question. Now, I want to give you a hint. Which one of these do you think you are, let's say, sure about them? For example, I am sure that what? That these numbers are smaller than 4. So I am sure about x being smaller than 4. So what? It means if I'm sure about this sign must face the same way. So if I have a sign facing this way, the other sign must face the same way if they are connected like this. So if this sign is facing this way, it means that the other sign is facing the same way. This way helps you to find out the answer of these inequalities. Now, as we said, this is the answer of this inequality. Now, I just find it in the answers below and just check it. So the answer will be what? Very good. It's this one. X is bigger than -1 and equal to it, and it's smaller than 4. Very good. Now let's move on to the next question. Question 5. Make n the subject of the formula. Now, as you can see here in this formula, we're going to make n the subject of the formula. Now, let's follow the steps together here, and I'll explain every step alone. Let's zoom in, put it here, and follow the steps of making n the subject of the formula. Now, as you can see here, this root is not taking the 3 with it. So it's only on 7n. So the 3 is free to go. So you can get rid of the 3 before starting with removing the root. Now, the 3 is divided by it. So we have root of 7n divided by 3. And I want to make n alone. So I have to get rid of every number or variable next to it. So I'm going to start with this. Now, if the root is not covering the 3, I can get rid of the 3. But if the root is covering the 3 like this, I can't get rid of the 3 until I remove the root. So now I can get rid of it. So it's divided here. I'm going to do the opposite of division. So I'm going to take it to the other side by multiplying. So the 3 goes here by multiplying. So it's going to be 3m. This is the first step. So I got rid of the 3. Now I have 3m on the other side. Because I multiplied 3 by both sides. Some people use it that way. So multiply, I remove the 3 with the 3. And then I end up with 3m equals square root of 7n. Now, I have the square root in which I have to get rid of it. Now, to remove a square root, what do I do? Very good. I square both sides. So I'm going to square this side here. And I'm going to square this side. Now, the squared root is going to be removed together like this. So the root and the square will go together. And I end up with 3m squared equals 7n. Let me write it here. So 3m all squared equals 7n. Now, the 7 is multiplied by the n, and I want to leave the n alone. So what do I do? Very good. Divide both sides on 7, because I want to get rid of what? Of the 7. And this 7 goes with this 7, and I end up with n alone. So n equals what? Equals 3m all squared divided by 7. And remember this. When you look at these answers, you'll find out that this is 3m squared, and this is 3m all squared. And the difference is the bracket. But they don't have the same value. Remember this. When I squared the whole thing. So I need brackets to put the square on the whole side. So the answer will be this one. 3m all squared divide 7. And this is how you answer a question like this. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.